Why are milk cartons usually square, while soda bottles are round? Why do drive-up ATMs have Braille on the keypad, even though they're designed to be used from inside a car? And why can a flight between the exact same two cities cost more depending on which city you fly out of? These sound like random trivia questions. They're not. Each one points to something most of us walk right past: the hidden incentives shaping everyday life. Once you start noticing those incentives, the ordinary world gets a whole lot more interesting. But there's a catch. Sometimes a clever economic explanation can sound brilliant and still not be the whole story. That's what makes Robert Frank's The Economic Naturalist so much more than a collection of fun facts. The whole book started with an unusual assignment Frank gave his economics students. Instead of memorizing another equation or drawing another supply and demand curve, they had to spot a weird quirk in daily life, something they'd personally noticed. Then ask, why does this happen? And explain it using basic economic logic in plain English. No jargon, no math. Just an observation and a simple, intuitive explanation. Those student assignments eventually grew into this book, and that changes how you should read it. You're not just memorizing answers, you're learning how to ask better questions. Take the milk carton. Why square? Why not sell it in round plastic bottles like soda? Frank's answer starts with something simple. Shelf space? Pack round bottles together, and you leave empty gaps between them. Square cartons pack tightly with almost zero wasted space, and that matters when the shelf itself is expensive. Milk needs refrigerated storage, and refrigerated display space costs more to operate than ordinary shelving. Soft drinks, by contrast, can also be stored and displayed without refrigeration. So the storage trade-off is very different. Even if a round bottle feels nicer in your hand, retailers may care more about how efficiently thousands of cartons fit into refrigerated storage and display space. Suddenly, a packaging choice isn't just about design. It becomes a cost-benefit calculation. And that's the first mental shift the book gives you. When something looks strange, ask, what hidden cost am I not seeing? Because whoever designed the product might be solving a problem you didn't even realize existed. Now look at that drive-up ATM. The keypad has Braille on it, which seems strange. Why put tactile dots on a machine designed to be used from inside a car? You're looking at it from the customer's perspective. Now look at it from the factory floor. Option 1. Build one keypad for walk-up machines and a completely different keypad for drive-up machines. That means two designs, two sets of parts, and two separate inventories to manage. Option 2. Manufacture one standard keypad with Braille and install it on every machine. Suddenly, the Braille doesn't look like a mistake. It looks like the byproduct of scale and standardization. And that gives us our second question. What looks inefficient here because it's saving money somewhere else? You'll start seeing this everywhere. A lot of everyday inconveniences may exist because someone reduced a bigger cost behind the scenes. But keep this ATM in mind. We're coming back to it. Then there's airline pricing. Take two cities, same route, same distance, same plane. Yet a round-trip ticket can cost significantly more depending on where your journey starts. Why? Because airlines aren't just pricing the flight, they're pricing the traveler. Frank uses flights between Kansas City and Orlando as an example. Someone flying from Kansas City to Orlando is likely a tourist heading to Disney World. If tickets get too expensive, they might go somewhere else, pick another week, or simply stay home. They're price sensitive. Someone flying out of Orlando to Kansas City might be traveling for business or family. They may have fewer alternatives. The flight is identical. The customer's urgency isn't. So instead of asking, what does this flight cost to operate? You have to ask, how much is this specific customer willing to pay? That single insight unlocks almost all modern pricing: software tiers, hotel rooms, coupon codes, student discounts, early bird tickets. They aren't just different price tags. They're filters designed to separate price-sensitive buyers from everyone else. This is where the framework becomes addictive. Once you see how the game is played, you start spotting it on your own. Why offer a rebate instead of simply lowering the price? Why make some discounts deliberately annoying to claim? Why can two nearly identical versions of a product have dramatically different prices? You stop seeing random design choices. You start looking for three underlying forces: costs, constraints, and incentives. And that's what makes this such a great introduction to economics. You aren't just studying theory, you're building a lens for reality. Except, this is also where the trap begins. Think back to the milk carton, square carton, round soda bottle, refrigeration costs. Nice explanation. Clean, intuitive, almost obvious once someone points it out. Except readers noticed another factor. Carbonated drinks are pressurized. A cylindrical container handles internal pressure differently from a square one. A square plastic soda bottle could require more material or a different structure to withstand that pressure. So refrigerated shelf space may be part of the explanation. But clearly, it isn't the whole explanation. And remember the drive-up ATM? Our first explanation was standardization. One keypad, one production process, lower manufacturing and inventory complexity. That makes perfect economic sense. But there's another piece of the story. Accessibility requirements also play a role in why those keypads include Braille. So something interesting just happened. Both economic explanations sounded convincing. Both may contain useful insight, but neither gave us permission to stop looking. And that's actually much closer to the spirit of Frank's exercise. These explanations aren't supposed to be treated like airtight scientific conclusions. They're better understood as intelligent hypotheses, ideas that make economic sense, and then need to be questioned, compared, and tested. That completely reframes the book, because there's a massive difference between, I have a clever explanation for this, and I know for a fact this is why it happened. The human brain is remarkably good at narrative construction. Give us an outcome, and we can usually invent a logical story that makes it sound inevitable. A product is square? Storage costs. A price is high? Scarcity. A weird consumer habit? Incentives. Those explanations might be right. But here's the problem. A theory that can explain everything after it happens may not be explaining as much as we think. Economics loses some of its power when it turns into neat hindsight storytelling. So the real takeaway of the Economic Naturalist isn't just learning how to find economic explanations. It's learning how to pressure test your own theories. You can turn this entire approach into a simple 4-step routine. Start with something genuinely odd in front of you. Don't begin with a theory. Begin with reality. Then ask, who benefits? Who pays? What cost is someone trying to cut? What behavior gets rewarded? Now force yourself to generate a second explanation. Could it be manufacturing limits? Physical materials? Government regulation? Consumer behavior? The goal isn't to tear down your first idea. It's to keep from falling in love with it. Finally, ask the critical question. If my theory is right, what else should I expect to see in the real world? Observe. Incentive. Alternative. Test. That's economic reasoning you can actually apply. Once you build that reflex, everyday life looks completely different. A supermarket shelf isn't just wood and metal. It's high-stakes real estate. An awkward product design isn't necessarily bad engineering. It may be a window into a hidden constraint. A discount isn't generosity. It may be a tool to segment buyers. And a price tag rarely tells you what something costs to produce. It tells you what the seller thinks you'll tolerate. That's when economics stops feeling like an academic subject and becomes an operating system for reading the world. And that's why this book is worth your time. Not because you'll memorize every detail about milk cartons or ATM keypads. You won't. What sticks is the mental habit. Most people see something weird and keep walking. An economic naturalist stops and asks, why? Then, who benefits from this? And the best ones ask, what would prove my explanation wrong? That's the difference between using economics to sound smart and using economics to actually think clearly. Because the goal isn't to have an explanation for everything. It's to become better at noticing what other people ignore, and more disciplined about questioning the first explanation that comes to mind. Once you start doing that, you don't just see milk cartons, ATMs, prices, and airline tickets anymore. You start seeing the invisible decisions behind them. What's one strange everyday design or pricing quirk you've noticed recently? Drop it in the comments, and let's run it through the 4-step test together.